dia. I am so sorry that I am a little late. I love technology and the internet and everything else. But sometimes I get stuck. So thank you, Lilo, for coming from your soccer mom duties, for helping us out. Thank goodness Aruba is super small and we are able to get everywhere within 5 minutes, although that's not really true, but today it was. So I'm really happy to be here live. Bon dia. I hope you had a productive week, whatever that means to you. Happy Saturday. We have international guests today, so we will be speaking in English today. So yes, we will be talking a little bit about the importance of having mentors in the lives of disadvantaged youth, but in the lives of everybody, really. So we all participated in a special training program in Malta. For those of you who don't know where that is, which is fine, that is somewhere south of Italy, bordering Africa. So it's like you go to Europe and then a little further. Super beautiful country. Just wanted to say that I do recommend 10 out of 10. So if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw some really nice pictures. But we will be talking about what we actually learned there. So yes, and before I continue, of course, I need to let everybody introduce themselves. But also, I want to say thank you to my awesome sponsors that make Sincerely Carolina possible. I appreciate you so much. And also, thank you to Cool FM, obviously, for making these conversations possible. So thank you to Pringles, to La Roche-Posay, and to Toto. Also, we had some fun giveaways during the week for the signed books. Congratulations to those of you who won. To Caras, to Pauline, and to Elizabeth. Do let us know what you think of the books, and make sure you keep following us on Instagram for more fun giveaways. Anyways, so I have in the house here Senia, who is also from Aruba and attended this training, but I also have Zainab, who is joining us from the Netherlands, who was also at the training. So without further ado, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, and I'm gonna start with you, Senia, if that's okay. Tell us who you are, why you're here, and whatever else you want to tell us about yourself.
Right. Good morning. Bon dia. My name is Senia New. I am an project coordinator at Sede Aruba. I specifically work with the international funding programs, European Solidarity Corps, and Erasmus Plus.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for that
Short and
introduction.
sweet.
Yes. But I'll get more out of you as we go. Do not worry. All right. We also have Zainab. Hi, Zainab.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you for joining us from the Netherlands and being patient as we work the technical stuff out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank God we have technique, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, we couldn't do this.
Exactly. You see, so it's with a little hiccup, but because of that, we can do this. So yeah.
Yes.
Zainab, tell us who you are, what do you do, and whatever you want to tell us about yourself.
So actually, I wanted to start that, well, my name is Zainab. I am from Holland. I live in Amsterdam, very busy city. I'm an expert by experience to start with, actually. And I volunteer at Don Bosco. I do actually a lot. I'm focusing on mental health in my life. I'm a breath worker. That means that I'm focusing on the breathing of people, how we breathe and what we can do with it. It's a tool to open keys from the inside. It's a key to open doors from the inside. I work with young people who are homeless. So it's actually a very intensive group to teach and to mentor. But that's actually a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Zainab. So we all participated at the Mentor Power training in Malta. And all of us obviously had different reasons why we went there and why we participated there. But maybe, Senia, can you tell us a little bit about why these programs are even possible and what the goal is? Because Yes, we got to travel to a very far away country, but there's a reason why this is like that, you know? People ask me, they're like, "Karina, but why aren't you going to a training in like Miami or something, you know? It's much closer to home." But maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is the goal of exchanging information with other European countries? Because I know, Senia, that you're more involved in the organizational aspect of it. So maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go into how Zainab and I got to go.
So, well, first of all, to kind of explain how it's even possible in the first place, you know, it's funded by the European Commission. So this is how these funding programs are even available. And yeah, since we are part of the European Union, that's how we are able to participate in these training courses. So the beauty of these training courses is that they're funded. So that means that these programs facilitate youth workers to go on these trips fully funded. So the trip is paid for, you get accommodation, and you even get food also, while spending the time learning, meeting other people from different cultures and different perspectives. So that's the beauty of having it international, because you do get to know a lot more from other people, and you learn from their experiences, you know, and you find similarities and differences. So that is really beautiful.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they asked me about this, and some people just saw pictures and they were like, "Oh, so you were on vacation on Malta?" And I was like, "No, but you know, let me tell you about it." And then other people knew that, you know, I was there for a training because they actually read the caption, because I do share. And you know, I was telling them, and they were saying the same, like when they go to you know, different conferences internationally, especially when they go a little bit further, they learn things that seem logical once you hear them, but until you hear them, it's like you don't know what you don't know. So that was really interesting, because I also had like a lot of aha moments that once I heard them, I was like, yeah, duh. But before that, it wasn't even in my purview. Like, I was not thinking about stuff like that, or I didn't have that perspective. So definitely, you know, like I told the organizers too, in Malta, I told them I came with a very open mind, because I was a little scared at first. Not scared, but I'm a very... I come from like the background where usually trainings and stuff like that are very structured. You know, you sit down, you listen to statistics, and you know, we talk about like whatever research is going on, and that's about it. And then when I reached out and I was like, "Are we gonna need a laptop for this?" And they were like, "No," and I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay." So, and they said it was gonna be interactive, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay." But you know, I'm in this already. And then I got there, and I did get you know, a good amount of theoretical stuff, which I do enjoy, but then also tying them to more practical information, and then being able to see what does that really mean in the real world. So I thought that was very nice and interesting, but also not only, you know, we had participants from many different countries, you know, with many different perspectives, also different cultures, and to be able to just listen and be like, right, you know, those are challenges we don't face on the island, or maybe we are oblivious to them, or we ignore the fact that they might exist to a certain extent, but because they are more prevalent in other places, I was like, you know, okay, it's important to think about those things as well.
Exactly. I mean, this is something that's common for many people who do this for the first time. They're like, okay, what kind of training is this? You know, interactive. What exactly does that mean?
Are we gonna hold hands and sing Kumbaya? Like, what are we gonna do?
You know, but that is really the beauty of these programs. So this includes Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps. You learn by doing. So there is, of course, some theory that you know, you have to understand, but then you also combine it with doing these interactive sessions, activities, and it seems like it's for fun. So at the moment you're like, okay, maybe you don't understand exactly the connection it has, because it seems like something that's just fun. But in retrospect, then you're like, Oh, okay.
Yep.
I see how this connects.
Yep.
And then because you went through the activity, you put yourself in that place, in that position, and that makes you understand it so much more instead of just listening and then putting it on paper
Yep.
and getting a grade or something like that.
Yep. Zainab, tell us, how did you find out of this program and what drew you to it? So you mentioned that you do breath work and you also volunteer at Don Bosco, Netherlands. Aruba also has a Don Bosco. I don't think it functions the same way as it does in the other countries, or I might just simply not have enough information about it. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about your volunteer work and how this training, made you apply.
Yeah, sure. So someone from the organization sent me the flyer. Actually, was from YouthNet,
Okay.
and she sent me the flyer, and I was like, I want to do this. It's about mentorship. I want to be a mentor. I am a mentor. I want to be a better mentor. So why not? And because I'm a youth worker at at Don Bosco, so I'm there a lot, and I was just working with them for a very long time. I think 3 years, even longer. And I was also I was the homeless girl who came there. So so it's like my home. So I applied. I had to write a motivational letter, and then she called me. She was like, yeah, you're in. You can go to Malta. I was like, oh my God, yes. But it was not my first Erasmus Plus project.
Okay.
It was my second, actually. I did 2 years ago. Yeah, I went to Barcelona for storytelling. So it was actually also very, very nice. Yeah, very cool. It was a more fun way. This was more theoretical, and there was more storytelling, more interaction, also younger people.
Okay.
And we had in this group we had more older people also, what I saw. And I think what I do is creating activities and also meetings for those young people to share their voice. So I think it's very important that the situation where you are in now, that you share it with us, because what makes you move? How do you feel? How do you really feel? Not what you need to show us, or just go into this very deep conversations with them. And I think Malta also, I had to recover 2 days because when I came home, I was like, oh my God, it was actually pretty intense.
Yes.
But in a good way. In a good way. I was like, I got triggered a lot. Because I'm in a grieving process. So I had to, bring the process home. And I was at one point, I was just alone. I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. I'm alone in my house, and we just had a big group of 30 persons, maybe more. And then suddenly you're just all alone. So it was a process. I knew a lot of things already because I am working with trauma a lot, also with my clients. So yeah, for me it was a very fun way to have some interaction, to talk about different perspective with other countries. I think it was very useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. And Zainab, like you mentioned, it was intense because they are, fully packed days of activities, of listening, but also sharing and participating. And it's almost like while you're doing that, you have very little to no time to process what is going on. And, like you said, it was a lot. For me, it felt like really, really nice because I usually, whenever I go to like a training and stuff, I always feel like I learned something, but I often have like a hard time of being like, how am I gonna put this into work and put this into, into practice. And I recently just started with a new small class of young teens. And, usually the first class is really hard because you have to break through teens, and they need to get to know you. You need to get to know them. And one of the things that we learned about was the Wheel of Life, and just using it as a tool to make people think about what matters to them, but also gives you an insight into what, is important to these people. So I was like, I'm going to incorporate that right away with my class because, it's a fun way and an interesting way for them to think about their lives. Usually teens don't think about their lives. It's more like we just follow rules or we have to, do what we're told to do. So it's a really nice way, but also to get to know them and see how important using interactive tools and being aware that, when you're working with youth especially, you're working with individuals that have their own set of, ideas, their values, perspectives, opinions, and giving that room as well. Senia, I don't know. I know that in the Netherlands it's very different culturally in the sense that young children and teens are giving a lot more autonomy from a younger age, and they have more room maybe to express their perspectives. It's just culturally a little bit different than here, but to be able to listen about the role of a mentor, of being somebody who stands beside them, and not so much imposing onto the youth, what you should and shouldn't do, but more of like providing options and then letting them understand the pros and cons of certain options, but still being able to exercise that autonomy, I think was a very important standstill. I think for me, coming from this culture where I may not necessarily think that way, but because that is who you are working with, you do have to keep in mind that you also have to work a little bit more on that self-esteem aspect, on making them feel that they are capable of making their own choices. I don't know, Senia, how did you experience these little things that made us reflect on our way of being?
Yeah, definitely. So to continue on what you were saying about giving them the space to make their own choices, but then also giving them the space to make mistakes. That was also kind of like you also mentioned before, like an aha. So you go back to when you were younger.
Younger.
And you're like, wow, imagine if I had also the space to just make my own choices and to learn from my own choices without being judged. If I had somebody beside me making me feel that I was supported, imagine how different things would have gone maybe. So that is one of the biggest things that happens during these training courses. You reflect so much, and I feel this is so important because that self-reflection, it that helps you grow, and then by growing you're also able to you have a bit more compassion with yourself and therefore have more compassion for others. And it was like Zainab also mentioned, very intense. It was only 4 days, but it felt like longer. It was a lot of intense topics. We're talking about trauma, we're talking about attachment theories, about a lot of different situations that can come up and how to handle them. And this isn't easy, but so important to talk about them and to give the space to yourself to also process and to get triggered, and then to ground yourself, and then what did I learn from this? That's how you heal.
Exactly. Zainab, were there things where I think one of the interesting things that we talked about was also giving time. But I don't know how you perceive this, but I think that once we are in the mentor role, we want the young people to understand things the way that we do, and for them to, like move on to the next phase. But that's obviously is gonna take time, and it's a process for them. How did you experience that as well? That understanding that maybe it's okay for some people not to get along yet, and work on those relationships in a maybe like a slower pace, or it's gonna take some time before they have their voice and are able to articulate it in a way that makes sense and is respectful, etc. How did you experience seeing that perspective and kind of standing still on that?
Well, I really believe in to give infinite space to everyone you care about, or you just interact with. Because my mentor told me you cannot expect the same intelligence or the same process of your mentee. So sometimes it takes time, sometimes it doesn't. So, you need to be in the energy of being surprised all the time, surprise yourself. And as a mentor, I also feel like you are, in this moment, you are here. And the mentee is actually also giving you the space to create space, if that makes sense, to follow the flow, to go with the flow. Because you never actually, sometimes you don't even know what kind of process the person is in. They can tell you something, but actually maybe they are how do you say it, maybe they're making it more nice than it actually is, or maybe they're telling you it's worse than it actually is. You never know how they really think. That's why I think it's important to really understand the power of the process. For everyone it's different, and actually when it reflects something in you, or it triggers something in you, then I think it's always good to have, after a conversation, just to reflect on yourself. Okay, maybe what did it with me, or maybe do I need time, or do I need space, or whatever. I think it goes like this, and it's human work. You cannot do this by a robot or by the book.
Exactly.
Every time it's different. So of course you have tools, and as a breath worker, for me it's like sometimes I only use the breath just to check in with someone. I just only observe how they breathe, if I ask something, so for me it's just really checking in with those powers of nature. What's very, it's your body that's talking, it's your voice that's talking. Finding creative ways, what's working for the other one, for the mentee, just to, find the sweet spot, and then we go further from that. So when it comes to giving space and time, let's just say we have all the time in the world. So they have the feeling for, okay, I can take it easy. There is no rush for growth. There is never a rush for growth. You cannot push that.
Exactly, and there might be so many things that impact that growth as well, that impact somebody's process. I think that was a little surprising to me as well. So coming from the child development background, especially more on like the medical aspect, I know that there are a lot of things that will impact a child's development, but usually I tend to think of it in a cognitive aspect, and maybe in a medical aspect as well, like if they don't move enough, etc. But then when we were looking at the attachment theories, and things that can impact a child's life, that as a society I don't think we give that enough space to realize that these life events can impact somebody's life to the point where eventually in their life they might not function to their full potential because they're still processing this thing that happened in crucial years of their life. So we stood still on some of these things, you know, and the difference that can happen in families where you can have one family and you can have 3 or 4 children and they have complete different experiences and they grow up to be complete different people. Usually when you know, people who are in a position who experience kids or youth, they tend to generalize. Again, it might be a cultural thing. So coming from a collectivist culture like Aruba, we tend to be like, oh, that is a good family, you know, and they don't understand why this one kid is a little different, or, you know, they have a sibling who accomplished XYZ in accordance to society's norms, and this other kid is having such a hard time, like, what is going on? And they're like, and then parents are also, you know, looking at themselves, and sometimes I'll talk to teachers and they're like, I don't understand, you know, like, my kids get everything and we're doing our best. I don't understand why my eldest kid is doing okay and then my youngest kid is being different or whatever. Realizing that, you know, needing some structure or help, maybe as adults, so like parents or teachers, but also children, does not mean that somebody necessarily failed. It just means that circumstances were a little bit different and people's needs are a little bit different too. So you can have an eldest child who's like age difference with their siblings is like maybe 7 to 8 years, and for 7 or 8 years they had like full 100% attention on themselves, and then I don't know, they get twin siblings, and then all of a sudden, you know, the twin siblings have the shared attention. It's not a bad thing, it's just different, and that might mean that the way that these children grow up to, you know, to be independent might look differently. The way that they reach for attention might look differently. The way that they seek security might look differently, and that also might mean that throughout their life they maybe will require some more guidance or guidance in a different way, and that we need to stop looking at people needing mentoring as being something very drastic. In some cases, yes, it is people who you know you know, were severely abused, who lost their parents, who, you know, had severe poverty, etc. And in some other cases, it's children who, you know, lived in a house with a lot of siblings and they were overstimulated by their siblings, you know, and that caused insecurities for them, and that's okay too. So I think that what you were saying, Senya, you know, that empathy as well, when somebody is telling you that this thing is hard for them or this thing is difficult for them, taking that as the truth as well, because I think that also as mentors we or people who are in mentorship positions tend to want to look for a solution real quick, and we don't give space for them to just let it be. That feeling, whatever that feeling is in that moment, it's true. I mean, it's not my job to dispute and to be like, no, you shouldn't feel that way, or you're being over dramatic or whatever. That is how they're feeling, and how can we work on that so that you can move forward and you can achieve that thing that you're trying or wanting to achieve. So that for me was also a standing still moment. That it's not only in the dramatic sense that youth might need you know, support, but it can be all youth, and what power do then teachers have, you know, the people, adults, trusted adults like aunts and uncles, you know, who also can serve as a mentor role throughout life. And
but the thing is that, and this is also something I noticed during the training, is that everybody has a different perspective of what a mentor is. So it really depends. Anyone can be a mentor or can be perceived as a mentor, you know, and it's really hard to pinpoint, like, okay, exactly this is what a mentor looks like, their attitudes, their skills, and everything. I mean, we tried, you know, but then you would get someone that is like inhumanly perfect. And that isn't reality. But to have this space, you know, maybe I don't understand exactly why a person is being completely like freaking out for something that for me personally is okay, sure, but just to have that, okay, I can sit with you during these feelings. I can validate these feelings. Even I don't have to understand it, but I can sit with you and I can give you that space. And I really love storytelling. So, it's like you try to change this narrative of seeing, okay, these are emotions that make you feel certain way. How can we see this in a different perspective? Give them the space, let them feel it. But okay, what can we get from this moment? This is a learning moment. This isn't just bad. No, it's something that you can learn from. And that's where that narrative, that perspective, I feel like that's something that mentors, that is really important to have.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think storytelling did a lot of things for me. Also, it heals a lot.
Yeah.
Because you're telling your story and it's your story. So what I needed in a mentor at that time is someone who showed me the fun of life, the joy of life. And he said to me, just go do storytelling. I was like, what? No. Storytelling, me? Yeah, you can always tell your story so good. So, just do something with it. So I followed a course and I really loved it. It was such a vulnerable way, but nobody is judging. It's your story. And then I had to, perform it for a big group. And I was like, oh my God. And I had this mic in my hand and my mentor was sitting over there. And was like, oh my God, this is shit. And then everybody was laughing and then, the energy just fell from my shoulder. And he was already clapping because he was so proud. And then I just told my story and I said, at the end, I said, so for this girl who was bullying me in the past, I changed my story a little bit in the end, but she was bullying me. And I could tell in the story to her, like, I feel compassion for you. I hope you're doing okay because I'm doing okay. Telling the story now for a big public,
Yeah.
And it was such a moment of, it was forgiveness, it was compassion, it was, everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is healing. And then my mentor came to me after and he was like, you did a great job. You should have seen yourself shining. You should have seen yourself glowing. I was like, oh, thank you. And then I saw myself. I was like, oh, damn, I was glowing. This is healing. This is what healing looks like.
Beautiful.
So I think it's, and every what you said, Senia, like everyone needs another kind of mentor. I needed a man. Sometimes people, they need a woman. Sometimes they need the feminine energy because they're too much in their masculine energy. I was in my masculine energy a lot, but he was the one who said to me that I should ground myself in the feminine energy. I don't have to work hard all the time. So that's what he was saying to me all the time. You're working too hard. Just take it easy. I was like, yeah, you're right. So that's what I've learned from him. May he rest in peace. So I really missed him. But I think, everyone needs their own mentor, and you can always choose another mentor when you are in a different phase of life. Sometimes you need someone who takes you by the hand, and sometimes you need someone who just gives you a kick.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
Exactly.
Let's go, girl.
Tough love.
Yep. And I think it's very beautiful, like you said, how somebody can empower you to also share your story and use that as a learning tool. I obviously like talking. I wouldn't have this podcast. So I enjoy listening to people as well, like share things, through experience, through knowledge, whatever. Because I do think there is a lot of power in that. And I do try to bring that back when I am working with people. For those of you who follow Cool FM, we also have a show once a month. It's called Stimong Autista, Love an Autistic Person, where Byron has his show. And, it was a process where I saw that Byron had a voice. He was able to put things into words so well. And then I felt like it was stories, it was, information that was being lost, or a voice that was being lost if more people didn't hear it and learn from it. And now, we're able to fast forward a couple of years, and I am like, it's maybe that was part of my role in his life, for example, of just creating the space, obviously, for him to be successful in the public sphere, and to for people to hear his voice. But it's his voice, and we try to structure it a little bit, and provide information and guide them. But at the end of the day, there's so much power in a lot of youth and in their experiences that we tend to function a little bit out of shame, and where we don't want to share the things that didn't go well, where we don't want to talk about the things that might be a little bit dark or sad or upsetting. But there's so much to learn from those things. So I also think that one thing that I could give as a nugget of advice, or hopefully for people that are listening, teachers, parents, and mentors, in whatever way that you function, is that it is important for us not to impose that shame onto these young people when they share stories that might be a little bit difficult to hear, that might be a little bit difficult to process, because shame does no good. It is their experience, period. It is what happened. It is how it happened. But how can you find a way of making that an empowerment tool for themselves, but also finding ways to realize that this might be happening to others, and how can we use this to hopefully help others, or avoid that it happens to others. And I think that that is also a very nice thing to hear from people who have been mentored, but also mentors, that the encouragement to talk about these things as well, because chances are that a lot of people are going through something similar.
Exactly.
And we can learn from each other, and we can share from that. But also, mentors, talk to other people. Talk to other people. Like, if you are dealing with youth and you're having like a really hard time understanding what is going on, or whether or not the situation is normal, whatever that means, or whether you're thinking about, is this something that I should take it, to somebody else? Talk to people, because maybe somebody else also had this whole thinking process. Maybe they already worked it out. Maybe they figured out where to go, where not to go. But we need to be open to realizing that we don't know everything, but also that, this is what I'm working on. Help. So that was nice to hear, and that being repeated so much through the training as well. The power of working together.
Just a reminder, that you're never alone. You aren't, and you shouldn't take on all of these things as a mentor, alone. You have other people, you have a group, you have support. And this is something, that's why stories are so important and so powerful, because when you share your story, your life experience, there is someone out there 100% that hears it just that moment and is like, oh wow, I am not alone. And that feeling of not being alone is just it gives you so much power. It's so empowering to people. And one thing that I noticed also is that a lot of us, who are mentors or who want to help others, I feel that a lot of us went through these things alone. We encountered a lot of challenges, a lot of situations in life where, it maybe brought us down, and we had to get ourselves back up. And now we're in this kind of line of work where we don't want it to happen to other people. And it's just that sheer determination, because of course you cannot be a mentor for everybody. You cannot save everybody, but you can be there for somebody. And even if it's just for one person, even if it's just for yourself in a moment, that is already, wow, that is such an accomplishment. Like, look how far you come, from challenges and disappointments, and you just pick yourself back up. And now you have this determination and this passion to help others. And I find that is so beautiful. I mean, how empowering is that to see this in yourself and in other people, and know that you have a group of people that, you know, we're all in this together.
Exactly.
And passionate about it together.
And doing it in different places, you know, in different settings with different type of, you know, youth. But at the end of the day, at the core, it's all a little bit the same, right? You're trying to guide somebody, you're trying to help somebody through something.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of, you know, where it kind of stems from, just wanting to help and understanding that, like you said, you know, because of experience, because of the knowledge that you have, you know that you can be of service to somebody. And I think that's really nice. All right, so Zainab, what was something that throughout the training that you learned, that we did, or something that really stuck with you, that you think like, I never looked at it from that perspective? I'm putting you on the spot. I'm so sorry, but I love doing that.
It is. That's an interesting question, because at the end of the training, I was like, oh, I could give this training myself, because I actually know a lot. Damn. It was a lot of things that I already knew. Not only because I've learned it, but also from the source. Like sometimes you know things because you know things, not because you have read it in a book or you have studied something or whatever. But what I've learned is that when it comes to the dynamic of a group, you attract each other. So we attracted each other in the group. And I was so surprised by how many different type of people want to be a mentor or are a mentor. So I was surprised. I was like, oh damn, there are teachers here, but there are also like young ladies from 19 years old, and they already know that they want to be a mentor. I didn't know that I want to be a mentor. I actually never spoke it that I want to be a mentor. I was just at one point I was just a mentor. They just gave me, you know, the title. Okay, so you can mentor him now. I was like, okay. So I never chose actually for it, but you know, sometimes things go natural. And I was very happy and very grateful for the group that we had, because there were so many mirrors in there. There were so many processes going on at the same time. And it was beautiful to see how at the end of the week, in the last task we need to do, how do you say like the
carousel of emotions, let's call it that.
Yes. Oh my goodness, like tears. I saw tears everywhere. I was crying. I was, oh my goodness, you know. And it was so beautiful that they ended the week with that that hour of just going back to yourself and you know, staying in your own process, and not, you know, just not go and do nosy with other ones' processes. Just stay with yourself.
Exactly.
It was beautiful.
And also
and what I've learned from that was like that no matter who you are, we are all going through something. And I knew that already, but it was beautiful just to see everyone moving around and just choosing for themselves what they are going to do first and last and everything. So yeah,
I love that too. And I think it was such a also like this last way of like learning tools as well, because you know, as we were doing these activities too, and in my case, in any case, I was looking at these activities and I was like, oh my gosh, these activities are great. Like I will 100% incorporate into the stuff that I do. So like you said, it allowed us to be there for ourselves, but also it was like the gift that kept on giving, in my opinion. Like in each one, I was learning things about myself, but then also things that I can continue to use. And that was really nice. I'm not a crier. My husband has this joke that I literally cry 5 times a year. I already reached my quota this year, so I don't know what I'm gonna do until December. But you know, especially at the last time, like, my eyes filled with water and like no tear actually fell. But as soon as I could, like, I texted my husband and I was like, my eyes were full of water. Because I mean, I know that nobody there would understand, but he would understand that. He was like, whoa. And I was like, yeah. But it was so nice, and being touching, but also in my scenario, like, I don't usually work with people that necessarily cry in the situation that they are, because we're usually working on like more specific projects and assignments. But it can also happen, right? Because if somebody gets triggered. So also something that was surprising for me to learn there was being okay with that. Being okay with people expressing themselves in whatever way, because I might have an expectation of how a certain topic or a certain situation might trigger a reaction. But then I was surprised over and over again of how different people can be and their different experiences can be, and how it might trigger like a different response, and also being okay with that. I surprised myself as well, like, how do I react to crying people, and it was really nice, because I feel like I also grew in that process of being more compassionate in that space as well. So I thought that was really interesting. That last assignment, especially, I was like, okay. Yeah. Xenia, what really stood out for you during this training program?
I have two moments that come to mind right away, and the first one is, do you remember when we had to sit kind of comfortably in a circle, and then we were facilitated or guided into kind of a meditation?
Oh, yes.
And it was so calm and stuff like that, and then just to go, you're walking in the forest, and then you come to a building, and then you see someone that you love and you care for, and that loves and cares for you. And it was shocking for me to see myself.
No.
And in that moment, I was...
Yeah.
You
were taken aback.
I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening here? And it was beautiful. That I felt it was such a beautiful moment for myself to kind of realize, hey, I'm here for you. Just like you're here for everyone else, I'm also here for you. And so that was a very empowering moment. And the second thing was, or do you remember the blindfold activity?
Yes. Zainab and I did that together.
I'm sure you remember that.
Yes, I do.
So we were like in a park, and you were in pairs, and then one of the pairs had to wear a blindfold and then trust your partner to kind of lead you through the park. And so it sounds like a very simple activity, but I feel that a lot of people, I'm sure you too also, kind of learned a lot just from being blindfolded and trusting someone to guide you.
I have to laugh because Zainab was my partner, and being somebody who loves control, like as soon as they were like somebody being blindfolded, I was like, Zainab, I get vertigo. Can you please be the blindfolded one first? And I didn't know that we were going to switch at some point, right? So she was like, yeah, cool, and we'll go. And I'm like super careful and everything. And they're like, and now we're going to switch and we have to cross a road. And I was like, are you for real? I was like, this is how, me wanting to be in control gets the best of me. Because then I had to be blindfolded like the longest and trust that we have to like cross the street. So I literally looked at Zainab and I was like, listen, you cannot get cremated in Malta. This is a problem. That means that my husband would have to come and pick me up, and we can't do that. You need to make sure that we use the traffic light to cross the street and we are safe in this process. But it was really funny, and that's also a way that we connected. And then Zainab was like, I'm gonna let you go and like walk by yourself, and I'm like, no, I'm blindfolded. Like, what do you mean? But it was really nice, activity where I would think, as a very structured, rational charts person and PowerPoint presentations person, where if you would have told me beforehand that we were gonna be playing with clay at some point and be blindfolded on the same day, I would be like, this is too silly. Like, this is weird, and I don't know. But then being in that moment, having learned the things that we learned, it made sense to like put things into literal perspective and see how do you feel about it.
Yeah.
And then try to
Yes.
put yourself in the shoes of somebody else who's also blindfolded, you know, figuratively.
Yeah.
And who has to trust you that, you know, you will guide them from point A to point B. So that was
Exactly.
really nice.
Yes.
Yeah, but also
Yeah.
having the courage to actually try, because
yeah.
you know, you could have said nope, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
I do have
Yeah,
to say
exactly.
that we all like participated very well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I didn't feel like I was allowed to say no, but that's just in my brain because I'm sure you were allowed to say no. But some things really felt like going out of my comfort zone, and then other things like went a little bit more easy. But yes, I think that I do want to say, you know, as we start to wrap this episode up, that maybe we don't give enough credit to people who play these roles in the lives of others. So I think that we should think a little bit about that, of how important mentors can be in people's lives. And even if it's for a short period, you know, it can be somebody who helps you through a work situation, it can be somebody who helps you through an academic situation, but also through like a significant life event, whatever. I do want to say props to you, even if you don't get like, you know, the big acknowledgement that maybe you deserve. It is important work, and that everybody has in them the power to mentor somebody through something.
Yeah.
But also be honest with yourself, what you can and can't do. You know, what space do you have for somebody else? What space are you willing to give? And sit with that,
Yeah.
you know, work things out.
Yeah.
Zainab, is there anything else that you want to leave us with before we close this episode?
Well, no, yeah, it was just also the thing that I said in the training at the end, like it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So as a mentor,
Yeah.
you know, you need a whole village
Yeah.
to you know, to raise your mentee actually. And also you need also a mentor. So
Exactly.
just even if it's for the smallest things. And that was my biggest message actually, that I've learned until now, to being a mentor and being a mentee also.
Thank you so much. And yes, I agree. We do
You're
need a
welcome.
team of people.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, I'm so glad for everybody that we met there. You know, I feel like I found like a new group of people that I feel comfortable enough to like maybe bounce ideas off and just stay in touch with. You know, so that was really nice. So thank you
Yes.
to everyone for that. And indeed, you know, it takes a village to raise somebody.
Exactly.
Senia, is there anything that you want to leave us with before we close off?
I want to give a little shout out to Friends of Don Bosco. Thank you very much for hosting us, for having us there, for facilitating a really, really wonderful training course for the whole group. It was super beautiful. So thank you, Ariana, Luis, and Brian, so much, all the way in Malta.
Yes, thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
I still don't know how to say please. I tried so many times, such a long word. But yes. Maltese is a hard language. I just want to say that. I tried.
It is,
I was
yes.
like, I can say good morning and thank you, and that is as far as I got. Yes. But I also want to say thank you to everyone. Obviously, the organizing committee, you know, you were all very great. To everybody who facilitated the program as well. Like, I was so happy. I was constantly pleasantly surprised and happy with the content. So thank you for that. And again, I hope that by hearing this, some of you feel encouraged to talk about, you know, the possibilities of mentoring youth. Aruba has several programs where you can do this, so I do encourage you to look into them. There is a Big Sister, Big Brother program, which is always looking for big sisters and big brothers to help mentor, you know, youth who have been in some way or another way involved with the law. You know, and it's a good challenge. It's a positive challenge. You will have a positive impact on somebody's life. So I encourage you to do that. But also, if your school has a program where you can help another student, maybe you know, work it out. The student that's having a hard time, do it. So I hope this, this little episode helped you figure that out. The idea of Sincerely Carolina is to talk about positive change and ways that we can make better choices. So I hope that this helped you in some way. And I also encourage you, if you are already doing some form of youth work, apply for these programs. We can learn so much from others, from different cultures. I know it can be a little scary to think that you're going to go for a couple of weeks abroad to some country you've never been before, but it's rewarding, right?
Yes.
If you're younger, there are also like volunteer experiences that you can do for a longer time. Do it. This will help our community grow in knowledge and experience, and bring that knowledge back and share it with others.
Yes.
So
At EU Projects Aruba or Sede Aruba, contact me.
contact Senya.
I got you.
Yes, Senya will give you some information. But yes, thank you so much. If you just stepped into your car and were listening a little bit towards the end, do not worry. We were live on YouTube. We weren't live on Facebook because Facebook is having some glitch, but we will share the video on Facebook as well. So do not worry. You can re-listen on Sincerely Carolina and Kula Fam's YouTube, and it will be available for listening only on your favorite podcasting platform on Tuesday. So we will be sharing those links as well. Do let us know if you have any further questions, or if there is something that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about yet. Thank you, Senya and Zainab, for being here today.
You're
Thank you to
welcome.
everyone that we were a little bit late. I'm so sorry. But anyways, thank you to my awesome sponsors for making these conversations possible. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to La Roche-Posay. Thank you to Total. And thank you to Pringles. Stay tuned on the social medias at Cine Talks and at Sincerely Carolina for fun giveaways, but also informational posts. I enjoy making those. Dulce is gone, so my social media presence is going to be a little bit less as I adjust to the reality that I no longer have an intern. This is also a call that if you are looking for an internship relating to podcasting and social media, please do reach out. I loved working with Dulce. I would love working with you as well. Anyways, thank you so much again to everyone, and to Kula Fam, of course. And I will see you again next week with another topic. And again, stay tuned for more information. Follow us on